Welcome, everyone. I was so disappointed because my computer crashed and I wasn't sure how many people would join us. And every single Thursday after that, I become very pleasantly surprised. Thank you for being here. Some of you sent me emails to send you the invitation. I feel very happy about it. And thank you for staying with us for the past 7 years, every Thursday. Love you all. Thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful to you all.
Wow, 7 years.
7 years. That's right. With your permission, we would start with two prayers, and then after that, I will introduce our fantastic
Oh,
speaker.
please,
And
please.
so go ahead, please, Mr. Lucci. Go ahead.
Okay, let's pray. Terangilah hati kami, kurniakanlah kami mata yang melihat dan telinga yang mendengar. Bukalah pintu pengertian sebenar dan biarlah cahaya keimanan bersinar dengan kilang gemilang. Terangilah hati kami, kurniakanlah kami mata yang melihat dan telinga yang mendengar. Bukalah pintu pengertian sebenar dan biarlah cahaya keimanan bersinar dengan gilang gemilang.
O thou kind Lord, thou hast created all humanity from the same stock. Thou hast decreed that all shall belong to the same household. In thy holy presence they are all thy servants, and all mankind are sheltered beneath thy tabernacle. All have gathered together at thy table of bounty. All are illumined through the light of thy providence. O God, thou art kind to all, thou hast provided for all, dost shelter all, confers life upon all. Thou hast endowed each and all with talents and faculties, and all are submerged in the ocean of thy mercy. O thou kind Lord, unite all. Let the religions agree and make the nations one, so that they may see each other as one family, and the whole earth as one home. May they all live together in perfect harmony. O God, raise aloft the banner of the oneness of mankind. O God, establish the most great peace. Cement thou, O God, the hearts together. O thou kind Father, God, gladden our hearts through the fragrance of thy love. Brighten our eyes through the light of thy guidance. Delight our ears with the melody of thy word, and shelter us all in the stronghold of thy providence. Thou art the mighty and powerful. Thou art the forgiving, and thou art the one who overlooketh the shortcomings of all mankind. Abdul Baha.
Dear friends, thank you for joining us tonight, although there weren't as many invitations. It's wonderful that you're all here. Welcome, welcome. Tonight, I have invited a very old friend that I never knew before, because he knew my cousin and my family, whom I did not know in Paris. And so when the first time I saw Jack, he asked me if I knew my cousin. And it was a cousin that I never met because they went at the time of the Guardian pioneering to different places, and he landed in Paris, France. So in a way, he's an old friend, and in a way, I just found him. I was listening to a beautiful talk, and I didn't realize it was Jack's talk. And at some point, I looked and I thought, but I know him, because we were on Wednesday mornings, we will sit and sometimes study few things with a wonderful group. Anyways, I called him and he was kind enough to accept and to share his thoughts with us tonight. The topic he chose is Death and Resurrection, the Old and New World Orders, according to the vision of Shoghi Effendi. Um, Jack, friends, I would appreciate it if you mute yourselves. Jack McLean is an independent scholar, poet, and essayist living in Ottawa, Ontario. He has published 5 books in the fields of Baha'i theology, spirituality, and biography. In 2013, his 606-page literary, critical, and theological work on the writings of Shoghi Effendi, A Celestial Burning, a selective study of the writings of Shoghi Effendi, won the Distinguished Scholarship Award in the book category from Association for Baha'i Studies of North America. He is currently completing commentary on the 7 Valleys. He has written some 30 academic papers in the field of Baha'i theology, mysticism, and philosophical and psychological theology. More information, I have put Jack's site at the end of the invitation. Jack, thank you so very much for accepting to be with us. And I would like to, if you could explain who the Guardian is, I would appreciate it, because there are friends here who might not have known him. Thank you.
Thank you, Feroz, for that loving introduction. You read my speeches very well. Of course, I had to provide you with that information. I may be some of those things, but I'm also just an ordinary guy, and that's an ordinary man, and that's how I consider myself to be. So thank you for that very warm introduction. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to share the screen now because for our Baha'i friends, a little review for the Friends of the Faith. We'll be getting to know a little bit about Shoghi Effendi. Time, I don't know. So we have 3 central figures in the Baha'i faith. Sacred figures. We have, of course, the Bab, who was the forerunner of Baha'u'llah, the prophet martyr of the faith, who gave his life for his teachings and for Baha'u'llah, really. The one he promised was Baha'u'llah, the founder of the Baha'i faith, and the 3rd central figure, Abdul-Baha, Baha'u'llah's eldest son, whom he appointed to be his successor, the interpreter of his teachings in his will and testament. Now, when Abdul-Baha passed away in 1921, he in turn left a will and testament also, in which he appointed his eldest grandson, Shoghi Effendi Rabbani, to be the guardian and head of the Baha'i faith. Shoghi Effendi was essentially a human being, but a very extraordinary human being. He was not a prophet. We can't really understand the Baha'i faith and the expansion of the Baha'i faith without knowing Shoghi Effendi's role, because he was responsible for so many things, including the worldwide expansion of the faith, the wonderful translations of the Baha'i sacred writings we have in English, the beautification of the Baha'i gardens and the completion of the Shrine of the Bab, and its many thousands of letters of interpretation when believers, both English-speaking, Arabic, Persian-speaking, asked him so many questions. We have between, I think it's 17,000 and 34,000 letters that Shoghi Effendi answered to individuals and institutions in English. This doesn't count the thousands he wrote, also his annual messages to the Baha'is of Iran and in Persian, and of course his messages to the Arabic-speaking Baha'is. Now, Shoghi Effendi spoke stunning English. He spoke stunning Persian, and having grown up in Palestine, stunning Arabic. He was a master of all those languages. So Alan Rayner, who belonged to my mother's generation, who made the pilgrimage during the days of Shoghi Effendi, Alan Rayner said this to me. He said, "Jack, nothing could have prepared me to meet Shoghi Effendi. Nothing whatsoever." He said, "I was simply electrified by the guardian." And of course, that meeting changed Alan Rayner's life. So, okay, so let me tell you a little bit about Shoghi Effendi. He was born on March 1st, 1897 in Akko, or Akka, if you want to use the Arabic. The Hebrew would be Akko or Acre, which was then part of the Ottoman Empire. Now, Akko is about a half hour's drive north of Haifa, if you want to situate it geographically. It's about today 60% Jewish. In the days when the Guardian was born, it would have been mostly Arabic speaking. But of course, we had the great influx of Jews into the Holy Land. The present population is about 53,000 as of 2023, 60% Jewish, and the rest being Arab, and smaller minorities of Druses, Christians, and I imagine there are a few Baha'is, small Baha'i community in Akko. And as I said, when Shoghi Effendi was born, the Arab population would have been much greater. So, as I mentioned, he was the eldest grandson of Abdul Baha, one of the three central figures. And because of his great humility, Shoghi Effendi did not include himself in the three central figures of the faith. He disdained and disliked being compared in any way to Abdul Baha. And in fact, he would gently reprimand people who did that, who spoke, compared him in any way to Abdul Baha. Now, during his childhood, friends, he would have known all the members of Abdul Baha's family, of course, as well as meeting the American pilgrims who came at that time to Haifa and Akka. So when he was about 10 years old, the family moved from Akko to Haifa, and Shoghi Effendi grew up the rest of the time in Haifa from about the age of 10, give or take a few years. Laura Dreyfus Barney, a well-known Baha'i who compiled a seminal text of Some Answered Questions, was one Western Baha'i he met as a child. And when I was a student in Paris, I had the very great privilege of interviewing Laura Dreyfus Barney. I was 21 years old. Laura was 88 years old. She looked very old to my young eyes, and she actually received me during that visit propped up in bed. And I just feel it was such a great privilege that she met me at that time. So it's very interesting about the name Shoghi Effendi. Now, when he was a child, Allah instructed everyone to call him Shoghi Effendi, even his parents. Now, Effendi, as you know, in Turkish, normally refers to a man of higher education or social standing. It means sir, lord, or mister, or polite way of saying master. So normally, you friends, you would not address a child as Effendi. But Abdul Baha insisted that he be called Shoghi Effendi even as a child and even by his parents. Now, if you translate Shoghi from the Arabic root word, the basic meaning means one who yearns or one who longs or one who has ardent desire. So a Shoghi is one who is full of yearning or longing. And the name Rabbani was given to the family by Abdul Baha himself. It means something like divine, from, of course, Rab, as you know, in Arabic means Lord, something like divine. So he was raised in the Baha'i holy place. He studied in Haifa first at his first language of instruction was actually in French at the French Brothers School in Haifa. And Shoghi Effendi was fluent in French as well as, of course, English, Persian, and Arabic. I understand that he spoke a little bit of Turkish, but we don't have any document written by Shoghi Effendi in Turkish. So he attended the French Brothers School, later high school at the French Catholic School in Beirut, and he went to the Syrian Protestant College and got a Bachelor of Arts degree, and that is now the American University of Beirut. So he earned a BA degree there. Basically, he studied political and economic theory, or if you like, the humanities and social sciences. That's basically what he studied. Although he did study a great variety of things as well. But at Oxford, his concentration was in the humanities and social science. But when he was at the Syrian Protestant College, he studied many different topics. I had a quick look at his curriculum there, and there was a great variety of things that he studied. So Abdul Baha wanted him to attend Oxford. Of course, Shoghi Effendi served as his grandfather's translator from the time of his youth, and Shoghi Effendi did this happily, thinking it would help to become a master of the English language. It would help to prepare him to be a better translator of the Baha'i sacred writings, and so on. So he went to Oxford. He was there actually at Balliol College only for about 8 months, less than one academic year, from October 1920 to June of 1921. And while attending Oxford, Shoghi Effendi was shocked to learn that Abdul Baha had suddenly passed away on November 28th, 1921. And when he returned to Haifa, he received a second shock to learn that he had been appointed in the will and testament of his grandfather as the guardian of the cause of God. Shoghi Effendi was, at that time, only 24 years old. So you can imagine Friends, can you imagine being the head of a world religion at age 24? He had no idea. Bahia Khanum, his Abdul Baha's sister, his great aunt, knew she had knowledge of the will and testament. She knew that Shoghi Effendi had been appointed, but he himself had no knowledge of this fact before the will and testament of Abdul Baha was read. So he struggled very much to accept this heavy burden of office at such a young age. And he had to retreat for 8 months. He had to go away, actually, so he could pray and meditate and struggle to accept this such a responsible, heavy office that had been suddenly thrust upon him. And while he was in Switzerland, in a memorable phrase to his executive secretary, Mr. Leroy Iwas, he said of this period in Switzerland, I fought with myself until I conquered myself, and I turned myself over to God, and I became the guardian. Now, friend, Shoghi Effendi didn't want to be guardian. He said that. He felt he wasn't worthy. He knew his life would be changed forever. And so during this 8 months in the mountains around Interlaken in the Bernese Oberland, as they call it in German, he walked through the passes and climbed the mountains, and he struggled with himself to accept this burden of office, and as he said, conquered himself and turned himself over to God and became the guardian. Switzerland became, friends, his favorite place of refuge. Till the end of his life, whenever he could take the time, he would return to Switzerland, climb the mountains, and take long walks over the passes. My favorite photograph of Shoghi Effendi is he's on a mountaintop with his guide beside him. Perhaps some of you know that photo, and he looks so extremely happy in that photograph. He was very happy when he was climbing the mountains in Switzerland. Those were his happiest times. And among the Swiss Baha'is, I learned from René Steiner that it is said by them that on a few occasions when the guardian was in Switzerland, he would meet some of the Baha'is at the Shoe Cafe. It's a historic cafe restaurant in the heart of Interlaken. It's still there, by the way. The Shoe Cafes and restaurant still exists. Today it's known as the Grand Café Restaurant Shoe. Okay. So I've mentioned already some of the great accomplishments of Shoghi Effendi, the strategic planning of the worldwide expansion of the faith that he planned during his 36 years of ministry, translating some of the sacred writings into English in books like The Hidden Words, the Kitab-i-Iqan, the Book of Certitude, and so on and so forth. Wonderful translations that I don't think will ever be surpassed. Now, some of his other accomplishments were establishing national spiritual assemblies around the world. One of the first ones he established was the British Isles in 1923. He restored Baha'i properties like the dilapidated mansion at Baji, which had fallen into disrepair, and so on. He issued guidance, as I mentioned, through his correspondence, through his books, through his many letters. I mentioned the translation. The global teaching plans he began in 1937 with the first 7-year plan, directing the worldwide expansion of the faith to new countries while he dealt with other thorny problems like the persecution of the Baha'is in Nazi Germany, the Soviet Union, and Iran, and in Turkey. So in 1937, and of course Canadians will be familiar with this, he married William and Sutherland May and William Sutherland Maxwell's daughter Mary Maxwell of Montreal in 1937. And of course, Shoghi Effendi gave her the title of Ruhiya Khanum, which means something like great spiritual lady, something of that nature, who remained his companion and collaborator in the work of the faith. They had no children. And so for I think it was 20 years that they were married, and Ruhiya Khanum was in London with him when he suddenly passed away. And you can imagine what a great shock that was to her when she found the guardian dead in bed. So I did also mention the completion of the superstructure of the Shrine of the Bab, the development of the beautiful gardens in Haifa. Shoghi Effendi also made cross-Africa trips, 2 trips. He loved the continent of Africa. He took some photographs while he was there. In 1929, he traveled from south to north throughout the whole continent. And in 1940, he traveled with Ruhiya Khanum. It was, as I mentioned, it was in London. They had gone to London to purchase furnishings for the newly completed International Archives building when he passed away from a coronary thrombosis at the age of 60, young age of 60. And when you see what he accomplished in his lifetime, it is absolutely extraordinary. He did the work of easily 20 men and women without any exaggeration. He's buried at the New Southgate Cemetery, where Baha'is from around the world have a resting place to pray and to meditate. And I think it's quite appropriate that Shoghi Effendi passed away in London because he loved the British Baha'is. He loved their steadfastness. He said the English Baha'is, he said they had a steady drizzle, something like the rain. A steady drizzle was a memorable phrase he once described the British. So let me now, after that brief into the life and accomplishments of the Guardian, let me now go to the texts. And this is where I've chosen, friends, only 7 texts of the Guardian that I've selected, which describe this dual process. He actually called it a dual phenomenon. Baha'is sometimes call it a dual process, and that's fine. But the exact phrase that Shoghi Effendi used was a dual phenomenon, which is this disintegration and simultaneous integration, the destruction of the old world order and the gradual imperceptible building up of the New World Order. And so those are the 7 texts, friends, that I have chosen.
Jack,
Yes, sir.
Jack, we found 2 readers who would be alternating the readings, Heather Cardin and Will Vanden Hunard, if that's
Excellent.
okay.
Okay, so I have to share my screen, my cousin Heather Cardin and
Will.
my old friend, the doctor of sociology. There's, I think, 3 doctors of sociology in
Okay, that looks good,
panel.
Jack. It looks good.
Okay, so there we go. Death and Resurrection, the World Order in the Age of Transition, as seen through the eyes of Shoghi Effendi. Friends, here's a picture. This picture is unusual because, as far as I know, it's the only picture that Shoghi Effendi requested be taken of him. And this was taken just after he was appointed guardian at the age of 24. And was probably still very much, I suspect, in a state of shock when this photograph was taken. It took him, as I said, 8 months in Switzerland, coming to grips with the office of guardian that had been suddenly thrust upon him. So there we go. So the first text that I've chosen is about these twin processes of disintegration and integration. And this is key to understanding the way that Shoghi Effendi looked at the old world order and the rising world order. Okay.
Heather.
The twin processes of disintegration and integration. We are indeed living in an age which, if we would correctly appraise it, should be regarded as one which is witnessing a dual phenomenon. The first signalizes the death pangs of an order effete and godless that has stubbornly refused, despite the signs and portents of a century-old revelation, to attune its processes to the precepts and ideals which that heaven-sent faith proffered it. The second proclaims the birth pangs of an order divine and redemptive that will inevitably supplant the former, and within whose administrative structure an embryonic civilization, incomparable and world-embracing, is imperceptibly maturing. The one is being rolled up and is crashing in oppression, bloodshed, and ruin. The other opens up vistas of a justice, a unity, a peace, a culture such as no age has ever seen. The former has spent its force, demonstrated its falsity and barrenness, lost irretrievably its opportunity, and is hurrying to its doom. The latter, virile and unconquerable, is plucking asunder its chains and is vindicating its title to be the one refuge within which a sore-tried humanity, purged from its dross, can attain its destiny.
So, friends, we could spend the whole evening on this one passage alone. And I will tell you, as someone who spent years studying the writings of Shoghi Effendi and writing about it in A Celestial Burning, I can tell you that every single one of these phrases is rich with meaning and is very carefully chosen. So I'd ask Dr. Van den Hoenert if he would read this passage once more, and then we'll discuss it. We won't take too long, friends, on each one, because I'd like to take a look at some of the other passages as well. So this will be your opportunity to comment on the reading. Okay, Will.
Thank you, Jack. We are indeed living in an age which, if we would correctly appraise it, should be regarded as one which is witnessing a dual phenomenon. The first symbolizes the death pangs of an order, effete and godless, that has stubbornly refused, despite the signs and portents of a century-old revelation, to tune its processes to the precepts and ideals which that heaven-sent faith oft profited. The second proclaims the birth pangs of an order, divine and redemptive, that will inevitably supplant the former, and within whose administrative structure the embryonic civilization, incomparable, and world-embracing, is imperceptibly maturing. The one is being rolled up and is crashing in oppression, bloodshed, and ruin. The other opens up vistas of a justice, a unity, a peace, a culture such as no age has ever seen. The former has spent its force, demonstrated its falsity and barrenness, lost irretrievably its opportunity, and hurrying its doom. The latter, virile and incomparable, is plucking asunder its chains and is vindicating its title to be the one refuge within which a sore-tried humanity, purged from its dross, can attain its destiny.
Okay, friends, this is very dense prose, it's packed full of meaning. Every phrase was very carefully chosen, very eloquent. So now it's your turn to comment. You don't have to just ask questions, but I'd be interested in learning what particular phrase or sentence here has struck you. I will mention that Shoghi Effendi was a great reader of the King James Version of the Bible, and he modeled his English translations of the Baha'i sacred writings from Persian and Arabic on the KJV. And I can tell you that this birth pangs and death pangs, this is also biblical language. I won't go into the details of that, but so friends, anyone is welcome to comment. I'd like to know how this particular key passage of Shoghi Effendi strikes you. What has struck your attention in this very rich, eloquent passage?
Please raise your hand.
Yeah, I can't see you. I just see the text. So I'll leave the text there while anybody is free to comment.
Sarah and Heather have both put up their hands.
Okay.
Sarah, go ahead.
All right. Well, I don't know. It's the word plucking that really struck me. It's like the only time I heard the verb plucking was the feather. The New World Order is plucking its chains. So that passage really struck me because it's like, who put the chains on the New Order? And yeah, I'm always fascinated with Shoghi Effendi's his prose, his tight, and every word is meaningful, and it's incredible. It's like you could almost do a painting from his writings. And yeah, I cannot say anything else. I feel very humble in looking at.
It's amazing writing. Plucking asunder, of course, is slightly archaic language, and sometimes Shoghi Effendi preferred slightly obsolete or archaic language in the way that he translated the writings or even in his English prose. Well, of course, plucking asunder, it's changed. Of course, the Baha'i faith was victim of Muslim fanaticism and orthodoxy. And of course, in the early days of the faith, it was viewed as being a sect of Islam and so on. But perhaps the plucking asunder its chains refers to the chains of persecution and Islamic orthodoxy. Anybody else like to comment on any either globally or individual phrases?
There's Heather, Shala, and Elizabeth Asbury.
Yeah, my comment is uncharacteristically brief. I really like the succinct nature of Shoghi Effendi's description of what's happening to the old world by saying the one is being rolled up and is crashing in oppression, bloodshed, and ruin. I think nobody could have said it better. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
I was going to make a comment on that. Shoghi Effendi has used pangs both for the death of the old world order and the birth of the new one. I find that very interesting. Of course, we are all aware of how painful is death, not only for the person who dies, but also for those who are surrounding it. And similarly, the pangs of the birth, having a child, the pain of delivering a child. And of course, it's very painful for the mother and also for the father, and also for the child who's being born into a different world. So I find that very interesting that he has used this visual, and he's very visual. And I think sitting and looking at it, if we read it a few times, we'll find other visual. As somebody said, it's almost picturesque.
Excellent. Now this, I just might mention this. I said this was, of course, biblical language, and it is, and as you have pointed out, uh, this is a painful process, both death pangs and birth pangs. So in Genesis 3:16, God tells Eve, I will increase your pains in childbearing. With pain you will give birth to children. Then in Isaiah 13:8, describes enemies in anguish like birth pangs during God's judgment on Babylon. Jeremiah 13:21 and Micah 4:9-10 use pangs of a woman in labor to depict national suffering and exile leading to deliverance. And Psalm 48:6 compares trembling fear to birth pains upon you. So this is just to demonstrate how Shoghi Effendi's familiarity with the Bible turns up in his imagery. Okay, excellent. Okay, let's, anything else?
Well, there's three more, but maybe
Okay,
Elizabeth
let's
will.
take those three comments and move on to the next one.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it was in the second line, the age that we're living is witnessing a dual phenomenon. I think we always have to keep in mind, even back then, where the day we're living in now, both these processes are going on at the same time. Well, of course, the media give a great deal of attention to the disintegrating force of of course, everything we see in the media focuses on some aspect of the breakup of the old world order, but it's far more difficult. I mean, and that's what people sort of think everything's going to the dogs, but it's far more difficult to realize that but this new world order is imperceptibly building up. It's not only what the Baha'is are doing to build it up, but other people. I mean, the spirit of the age is the force that is bringing about the more positive developments, such as which will contribute to the new world order. Anyway, I will stop here. Thank you.
Yes, and this won't be done, Elizabeth, I think, as you alluded to, by the Baha'is alone. We collaborate with any like-minded souls who want to change this world order. The other opens up vistas of a justice, a unity, a peace, a culture. There you go, a culture such as no age has ever seen. So there's the promise of the future glory. Anybody else?
Yeah, Will.
In our area, which is Fredericton and New Brunswick, I've cataloged some 120 churches in our area. And what is striking about these churches that they are, some seem to be vibrant. And these are the conservative churches, and others are dying or already dead. So there's a huge array of differences, but again, some are vibrant with cushioned seats and what have you, and all the technology. Others are so disappearing in thin air, if you will. So it's interesting thing to ponder in light of the Guardian's statement. So even the decaying is a slow process.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Will. So,
There's two more, but I don't know if we should move on.
okay, let's take the two more and then we'll move on. I hate cutting people off. Okay, and then we'll move on to the second one.
Nivea.
Yes, Jack, I wanted to ask, what year was The Promised Day Has Come written?
Oh, that's a good question. 30 something. I'd
It
have
was
to pull up.
1941.
Oh, 41. Thank you, Elizabeth.
1941.
Yeah.
And I had to look up that word, effete and godless.
Effete it's pronounced. Yeah.
Effete. And well, from the Google search, it says that it means overly refined. And so I think if you're Baha'i, you accept that that this process of disintegration happened as the Guardian frames it here, because people have rejected the revelation sent by or revealed by Baha'u'llah. And he refers to the people of the old world order as godless. So, I mean, that's a perspective, and we accept it as Baha'is. We accept that, but there were many souls searching for a new way of living at the time of Baha'u'llah's revelation. And so, even though everybody feels the disintegration now and has their own theory of why it happens, I think for Baha'is, the unique contribution is that it's because they didn't listen to what Baha'u'llah had to say about fixing or preventing disintegration in the first place. But his reach, I mean, his reach to the world was very little at the time of his life. So I just I just want to comment that the phrase New World Order, I think, had been around even before Baha'u'llah's time. Is that true? I had heard that, but I don't have a reference for that. The only reference that I found online is that it was something used after World War I and then used a lot by President George Bush, the Jr., a lot. But I think that it might have been even before the French Revolution. Do you have any
Well, I don't know. Don't mind me. Is there a person who wants to speak? I can't
Oh,
see
you're
you. I
breaking
only
up.
see the text in front of me. So, is there anybody else after you?
Marguerite's the last one.
Okay.
I find it really wonderful that it was reminded, I like the when somebody pointed that he uses the word pangs for both death and birth, and
Painful.
it reminded me of Baha'u'llah's writing about death as a messenger of joy. And it's very interesting that this death he describes of these twin processes is the dying of the old order and the birth of the new order, or the new civilization, if you will. And the first thing that a child does when it takes a breath is cry. So it's that instant, whereas the death of the world of the womb and the birth of the world in this world, the life in this world. So much in the same way, the pangs occur at the same time. Like Shoghi Effendi is talking about how these twin processes are occurring at the same time.
Indeed. Yeah. Okay, thank you, Marguerite. Let's look, and here we have the failure of diplomacy and statesmanship, as fresh as this morning's television news. So who's going to read this one?
Heather.
Dearly beloved friends, humanity, whether viewed in the light of man's individual conduct or in the existing relationships between organized communities and nations, has, alas, strayed too far and suffered too great a decline to be redeemed through the unaided efforts of the best among its recognized rulers and statesmen, however disinterested their motives, however concerted their action, however unsparing in their zeal and devotion to its cause.
Okay, Will, would you mind reading that again, please?
Dearly beloved friends, humanity, whether viewed in light of man's individual conduct or in existing relationships between organized communities and nations, has, alas, strayed too far and suffered too great a decline to be redeemed through the unaided efforts of the best among its recognized rulers and statesmen. However disinterested their motives, however considered their action, however unsparing in their zeal and devotion to its cause.
Thank you. In other words, friends, short of divine assistance, there's no hope for the world.
Yeah.
And I mean, basically, Shoghi Effendi is saying here that the governors of human society, rulers, statesmen, politicians, basically, they can't do the job anymore. So this is sort of the essence of this particular passage. So I'll read it once more. Dearly beloved friends, humanity, whether viewed in the light of man's individual conduct or in the existing relationships between organized communities and nations, has, alas, strayed too far and suffered too great a decline to be redeemed through the unaided efforts of the best among its recognized rulers and statesmen, however disinterested their motives, however concerted their action, however unsparing in their zeal and devotion to its cause. Of course, from a literary point of view, in the last part of that sentence, you've got perfect balance and parallelism in the repetition of the phrases beginning with however and so on. So, and of course, redeemed is a word with religious or theological meaning, redemption. So it's very interesting, the word choices that Shoghi Effendi makes. He's created a completely fresh and original style, which only he has developed. Any comments, friends, about this particular passage? I'm certainly enjoying the discussion, and I'm glad you're jumping in and commenting and questioning, and thank you very much. If there are no comments, then we'll look at the next one.
Shala has a comment.
And you mentioned something about the bush. If I remember right, in 1991, 92, after the Cold War ended, the NSF US sent out open letters to the president in United States. I hope I'm right. I think I'm right because I was there. And told them about the world order of Baha'u'llah. And Bush used that term, New World Order, in his speech. And it was fascinating to see the effect of the writings sent by NSF US to the president in his speeches. So I find that fascinating.
Well, what's even more fascinating, of course, we can't be 100% sure, Shala, that these things are accurate, but Mildred Motahedi, this is what I had heard, Baha'i Mildred Motahedi, who made the pilgrimage during the days of Shoghi Effendi, was a friend of Barbara Bush.
Yes.
George Sr.'s wife, and perhaps it was through that this phrase started New World popping up in the speeches and writings of George W. Bush Sr.
Yeah, I would love to do a little research to see if in his library there's any indications of those letters that NSF US sent.
Okay, anything else?
Brenda Kotras.
Yeah. So,
to speak.
oh, sorry, can you hear me? I was thinking, about the other quote that we are so familiar now with these concepts of disintegration and building because we are seeing this crashing happening everywhere in so many institutions. But back then, Shoghi Effendi was saying those things in 1941, and did I live then? No, I wasn't. Oh, yeah. No, I wasn't alive then. Sorry. Um, and it wasn't so obvious then. So it must have been quite dramatic for these early Baha'is to read those letters making the claims about this, crushing disintegration. And so about this one, I know Baha'u'llah, if I'm correct, has said that the only power that can unite the world is the power of the Holy Spirit, which comes through the Baha'i revelation. And here Shoghi Effendi has said it in another way, that the best rulers and statesmen can't do it. They just can't do it because they're unaided. And I presume that this lack of aid is the lack of the power of the Holy Spirit. So I don't know what you think about
And don't we see that at just about every newscast, Brenda, that we watch today?
now it's just prevalent. Everything is crashing. The church, the school, education, everything that we depend on. People are not trustworthy. And in the Garden of Rizwan, Baha'u'llah saw the maid of who was called trustworthiness, or this beautiful light, and said that we can't advance. Humanity can't advance without trustworthiness. That's the major quality that we need, and that's what people are losing, is trust in everything.
Especially in their institutions of government.
That too, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello.
Okay, there's the Margaret.
Hello. Can I speak?
Who's
Mary Sue here. I all I see on my screen is the tap to speak and video is stopped. I don't have anything else. I can't put my hand up.
Go ahead, Mary Sue. Go ahead.
Okay. One of the things I remember from a quotation that I saw, but I can't remember the place, was that Shoghi Effendi, I think, and possibly Abdul Baha before him, addressed the fact of deep corruption in the systems that were supposed to govern us. And so this is one of the factors that inhibits the best of people from being able to make the positive difference. And so that's all I can remember, because as I said, I can see nothing on my phone except this button. And there's so much effort and so many good people wanting to make a difference and trying, and I remember seeing King Charles going to the Vatican, which was and remember, he's the head of the Church of England, to visit the Pope, and that's like a schism that lasted hundreds of years. And this was a major gesture towards we need to recognize our unity.
And I think, thank you, Mary Sue, and I think we should recognize the efforts of people who are sincerely trying. I mean, I don't think the Guardian is wholeheartedly dismissing the efforts of the sincere and the devoted. And
Yeah, I think it's the case that there's the corruption is twisting everything from behind, and it's the death pangs have to break up the corruption somehow.
okay, are there any?
That's
Yes, thank you,
that's
Mary
what I
Sue.
see happening anyway. I may be wrong.
Very good, thank you. Any other comments before we find out about the triple false gods of our age?
I just wanted to point out there was I forget the name of the lady who mentioned something about the state of the world, and Anyway, I can't remember her exact comments, but what came to mind when you put the second slide was like, well, at the time of Baha'u'llah and the Bab, there was a lot of corruption in Persia. This beautiful civilization had gone to the dumps. I'm sorry, this is probably not a right expression. It probably not good, but a lot of people in those days, people didn't have a voice. So they were oppressed, but they were silently oppressed. So they didn't have, they couldn't say anything. But there was a decay then, and so that's that's why God brought Baha'u'llah and the Bab, so that he could bring a new spring, the spring, the renewal of humanity, a redemption for humanity. So this, what we're going through now, and we see in the news and everything, social media, is just the extension of the time when Baha'u'llah was here. But then at the time of Baha'u'llah and the Bab, there were less maybe people on earth. Now there's so many more people. So it's just making it look even worse because there's more people fighting and more people claiming and demanding. And so, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Just point out that the World Order letters, which were compiled in the World Order of Baha'u'llah, were written in the 1930s. So, and yet how fresh, how relevant they are today. Okay, here we go. The three false gods of our age.
Can I mention something?
Yes.
Yeah. What about the lesser piece? It won't be complete with Baha'is only, but spiritually minded people of the world will bring about the lesser piece.
Yes, I'm glad you mentioned that, and I should have mentioned it in my which I didn't go into what Shoghi Effendi meant by the formative age. But thank you very much for mentioning that. And this is very important that Baha'u'llah in his writings referred to two types of peace, the lesser peace and the most great peace. The lesser peace will be established, and it's prophesied in the Baha'i writings by Baha'u'llah, not the direct effect of anything the Baha'is are doing, but it will be a political peace that the rulers of the world will establish themselves, and they will outlaw warfare. And that will be the highlight of the lesser peace, followed eventually by the most great peace. Now, I know these are very challenging statements that Baha'is make. They sound so idealistic. In some ways, they sound so triumphant and so on. So I understand why people can be skeptical when they hear Baha'is making these claims, but nonetheless, these are the claims. And how so you did well to point out that the lesser piece would be, and once again, it's not a one-time event, it's a process. And in fact, we can argue in a certain way that we are in the process now of establishing the lesser peace, and the destruction of the old world order is part of that process, because you can't build up sometimes before you tear down. You have to tear down the old in order to so yes, and so this is not a question of Baha'is saying we're the only answer to the world and taking credit for everything. No, Baha'u'llah has pointed out that mankind will reach a stage of maturity where they will, of their own accord, establish what he called the lesser peace, which will be a political peace that will put an end to war. And following that, that would be the most great peace, which would result from the spiritualization of civilization and the eventual recognition by the peoples of the world of Baha'u'llah. Thank you for pointing that out. Okay.
I had my hand up.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point that I just did a quick check, and the expression "the New World Order," Baha'u'llah used that expression in the Kitab-i Aqdas, the Most Holy Book. So it's in paragraph 181. Okay, so it's the famous quotation there. the world's equilibrium had been upset through the vibrating influence of this most great, this new world order.
Yes, but Marguerite, it's very interesting. I should say, and that's how the Guardian translated it.
Yes.
I think the original Arabic or Persian says simply order.
Mm-hmm.
And I've heard Persian and Arabic speakers say they didn't realize what was involved in that particular phrase until they read Shoghi Effendi's translation, which he translated as world order.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we need to go on. There's more comments, but we got 4 or 5 more slides, and it's 20 after.
Okay, we can continue. The people who didn't have a chance to speak, please, when we get to the end of these, we can come back and take further comments.
Yeah.
Okay, who's our reader for this one?
Heather again.
The chief idols in the desecrated temple of mankind are none other than the triple gods of nationalism, racialism, and communism, at whose altars governments and peoples, whether democratic or totalitarian, at peace or at war, of the East or of the West, Christian or Islamic, are, in various forms and in different degrees, now worshiping. Their high priests are the politicians and the worldly wise, the so-called sages of the age. Their sacrifice, the flesh and blood of the slaughtered multitudes. Their incantations, outworn shibboleths, and insidious and irreverent formulas. Their incense, the smoke of anguish that ascends from the lacerated hearts of the bereaved, the maimed, and the homeless.
Shoghi Effendi sometimes, and you'll notice here as Promise Days Come, as Elizabeth mentioned, 1941, he didn't pull any punches. And here we have this this particular passage of the three false gods calculated or built on the metaphor of a false religion, false gods, and false idols. And so he's got the element of worship, he's got high priests, he's got sages, worldly wise, sacrifice, incantation, incense. We think of incense during, for example, the Catholic Mass. So this is replete with religious imagery of various kinds, and he's built a very interesting extended metaphor. The chief idols in the desecrated temple of mankind, temple that's been desecrated, are none other than the triple gods of nationalism, racialism, and communism. And so at whose on. So it's a passage that's built on actually an image of worship, of priesthood, but he's of course used it for an entirely different purpose. It's a desecrated temple. Okay, questions, comments?
A question from Carol Gravel.
Not so much a question. Hello, everyone. So much as the fact that when it comes to all of the hierarchy, be it the high priests, be it the politicians, be it the sage, the world, knowing it doesn't take care of those that are most vulnerable. And those that are most vulnerable, there's no exception, because we're not in this in the resurrection. That's when we're no longer vulnerable. And it becomes obvious that it's what we have as teachings, where there's no hierarchy, where the one station is the God station, where it's Baha'u'llah station, and everybody is putting into practice the teaching. prefer the brother than to oneself, that makes what is the resurrection possible, the new order possible, while the other one is falling, hierarchy is falling, the new one is already on the march.
Okay. Now, shibboleth, this is another biblical phrase, but it refers to an in-groupy particular slogan or widely repeated idea that people accept uncritically. Any other comments, friends, there? The very telling passage, very.
Elizabeth Asbury has a comment or a question.
Okay, well, when we've been talking about all this, this is the temple and this is all the worship going on. But I want to look at, we should look at the three gods themselves: nationalism, racialism, and communism, because we could go on at length about all the evils of the first nationalism of all three. But I just want to mention about communism. Well, I think the people, those who first, thought up the doctrine of communism, having a more equal, egalitarian society, mostly in economic and material, advantages. But look, it's become such a, it's become so oppressive. Many, because most of us did not probably grow up in communism, but it's people. It's such an oppressive system that many peoples of the world have been living under. Well, in fact, here in Ottawa, we've got a memorial, dedicated to the victims of communism, showing, what an evil force it is in the world, and I think that we should, that these three gods, that they're still well and alive in this world with nationalism, racialism, and communism. That's all I wanted to say.
Yeah, well, he says they're the chief gods, but not the only, perhaps not the only gods.
Hmm.
And of course, communism by nature was by Marx and Lenin, religion is the opium of the people, the famous phrase, meaning it comforted people while suffering under unjust systems, while helping to maintain those systems. So,
Jack,
yes, sir.
Jack, I think we should think that we try to finish at 8:30, so I think
Okay,
we'll
let's
have
go
to,
on to the next one then.
maybe we'll have to hold on the comments until the very end and see how much time we
Okay,
have.
why don't we just read through 1, 2, 3, few left. And here we go. Much suffering awaits the human race as we learn to unite as one family. Again, from the World Order letters, the World Order of Baha'u'llah, these letters were written in the 1930s. So still Shoghi Effendi's statement that in order to, well, let's read it. He will tell us.
Go ahead, Heather. She's our reader tonight.
I think it's Will's turn. I read the last one, so
No, but you both read. You both read them.
well, the last one I read myself. Will did not read it, which is why I'm thinking it's Will's turn.
Oh, I see. Okay, I thought you both read each one. Okay.
So, Will, please go ahead.
Okay, I'll accept the challenge. The process of disintegration must inexorably continue, and its corrosive influence must penetrate deeper and deeper into the very core of a crumbling age. Much suffering will still be required ere the contending nations, creeds, classes, and races of mankind are fused in the crucible of universal affliction, now forged by the fires of a fierce ordeal into one organic commonwealth, one vast, unified, harmoniously functioning system. Adversities unimaginably appalling, undreamt of crises and upheavals, war, famine, and pestilence, Manuel combined to engrave in the souls of an unheeding generation those truths and principles which it has disdained to recognize and follow. A paralysis more painful than any of its kind has yet experienced must creep over and further afflict the fabric of a broken society. It can be rebuilt and regenerated. Wow.
That's his opinion. I will read it again. The process of disintegration must inexorably continue, and its corrosive influence must penetrate deeper and deeper into the very core of a crumbling age. Much suffering will still be required ere the contending nations, creeds, classes, and races of mankind are fused in the crucible of universal affliction and are forged by the fires of a fierce ordeal into one organic commonwealth, one vast, unified, and harmoniously functioning system. Adversities unimaginably appalling, undreamed of crises and upheavals, war, famine, and pestilence, might well combine to engrave in the soul of an unheeding generation those truths and principles which it has disdained to recognize and follow. A paralysis more painful than any it has yet experienced must creep over and further afflict the fabric of a broken society ere it can be rebuilt and regenerated. Once again, the breaking down before the building up. I would point to one of Shoghi Effendi's favorite literary devices here. It's the triple alliteration with the F's, forged by the fires of a fierce ordeal. There's a triple alliteration there with the F's. He was quite fond of alliteration. Comments, questions?
I think we're going to go without comments, Jack, until the end.
Oh, right. I forgot. Thank you for reminding me, Bob. Now, the other one I've chosen is racial unity and minority rights. Okay.
Okay. If any discrimination is at all to be tolerated, it should be a discrimination not against, but rather in favor of the minority, be it racial or otherwise. Unlike the nations and peoples of the earth, be they of the West, be of the East or of the West, democratic or authoritarian, communist or capitalist, whether belonging to the old world or the new, who either ignore, trample upon, or extirpate the racial, religious, or political minorities within the sphere of their jurisdiction. Every organized community enlisted under the banner of Baha'u'llah should feel it to be its first and inescapable obligation to nurture, encourage, and safeguard every minority belonging to any faith, race, class, or nation within it.
That's from the Advent of Divine Justice, page 35. So discrimination in favor of the minority, be it racial or otherwise. And there's a lot of transgressions there who either ignore, trample upon, or extirpate. That genocide could be included in that, of course. The racial, religious, or political minorities within the sphere of their jurisdiction. Every organized community enlisted under the banner of Baha'u'llah should feel it to be its first and inescapable obligation to nurture, encourage, and safeguard every minority belonging to any faith, race, class, or nation within it.
Mm.
Comments or questions? I notice there are a lot of comments in the chat, and I haven't been able to look at those.
Jack, I think we have to move on, as Bob mentioned, to the next one, and it's Will's turn.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. The cornerstone, the oneness of humanity. One word more in conclusion. The proclamation of the oneness of mankind, the head cornerstone of Baha'u'llah's all-embracing dominion, can under no circumstances be compared with such expressions of pious hope that have been uttered in the past. His is not merely a call which he raised alone and unaided in the face of the relentlessness and combined opposition of two of the most powerful Oriental potentates of his day, while himself an exile and prisoner in their hands. It implies once a warning and a promise, a warning that it lies its sole means for the salvation of a greatly suffering world, a promise that its realization is at hand.
All right. That it, of course, refers to the oneness of mankind. And for the last one, I chose this particular quotation, which I've called the challenge of the revelation of Baha'u'llah.
Leaders of religion, exponents of political theories, governors of human institutions, who at present are witnessing with perplexity and dismay the bankruptcy of their ideas and the disintegration of their handiwork, would do well to turn their gaze to the revelation of Baha'u'llah and to meditate upon the world order which, lying enshrined in his teachings, is slowly and imperceptibly rising amid the welter and chaos of present-day civilization.
Yes, slowly and imperceptibly. It's not apparent, and it's no quick solution. It's a multi-generational, long-term rebuilding of society that will continue long after those of us here today are no longer here. So there we go. I'm back to seeing you. Oh, nice to see you all again. I couldn't see you while that was going on. So thank you, friends. I just find those passages from the Guardian so relevant and so stunning and so very challenging to any friends of the faith that are listening here tonight. Yes, I do recognize that some of these claims are quite challenging, but nonetheless, this is what we are saying, that every system short of the unification of mankind has been tried and seems to be failing. So let's try the unification of mankind. See, as Abdul Baha said in his conversation with Maxim Hudson, the arms manufacturer, well, if peace doesn't work, we can always go back to war. Bit of a sense of humor there. Okay, Ferouz, over to you.
Thank you so much, Jack. I really, really appreciate it. Usually after 8:30, we move to our prayers part and the devotional part. And thanks for the friends who stayed with us till now. So please feel free to start the prayers. David, would you like to start the prayers? Gibby after you, maybe?
And I'm sorry if people didn't have a chance to say something because we had to move on to respect the time constraints.
Well, if you need more time, by all means, we can always say, a few prayers at the end. No problem.
No,
Why?
I don't need more time. I just, if there's somebody who really wants to say something,
Sure,
teachers
sure,
used to say, speak now or forever hold your peace.
sure. Friends, please go ahead. If anyone has any questions, please feel free.
Or comments.
or comments. Yeah.
or comments. Yes.
Alan and Janus.
Hello, thank you so much. It was a beautiful presentation. I just have a comment, I guess you could call it. I just was going through my head again the quote that from Shoghi Effendi, where he talked about discrimination, that if it is to be tolerated, it should be discrimination not against, but rather in favor of minority. Just like the beauty of his writings, the beauty of writings in the faith, it just um, stuns me always. When we talk to our friends who are not who are searching for the faith, for any faith, and when we talk to them and we read them these quotes, it just moves everybody to their core. So thank you for choosing that quote and sharing it. I just wanted to mention that. That's all.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah,
Yeah.
I deplore the fact that there's so much to read, the writings of Baha'u'llah, the writings of the Bab, the writings of the Universal House of Justice, the writings of Shoghi Effendi. And I really deplore the fact that the Friends are not as familiar with the writings of the Guardian as they should be, which is precisely why I wrote A Celestial Burning, was to bring the attention of the Friends to the genius of Shoghi Effendi.
Can I ask the people that want to speak to turn their cameras on if they don't mind?
Yeah, Alan was our friend Alan in Nanaimo. There he is.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed this very much. I just wanted to point out a couple of sort of facts that might help us at this time. We live in a universe. There's about 1 billion galaxies in our universe, different sizes. We live in a galaxy that has approximately about, give or take, 500 billion planets. This is likely Earth, and what's happening on Earth is probably not God's first rodeo. I think that we're seeing a process, and I think sometimes it's in our faces and we don't see the whole thing. The Austrian-Hungary army was the largest in the world. They didn't win the war. The terrible weapons don't guarantee victory either. We have now weapons, atomic bombs, but nobody can use them because of mutually assured destruction. We have weapons and armies like the United States going into Vietnam, but it seems to me that if I remember history, the United States really didn't win. And if you take a look at the cooperation parts, it's even better. There was this thing called a hole in the ozone layer. And then there was a Montreal Accord where science taught mankind that if we cooperate together, we can get rid of this problem. And that's what they did. And last time I looked, the ozone layer hole was now just about closed. There was a market collapse in 2007, 2008. Central banks came together from multiple countries and they fixed it. We have COVID threatening us at this point in time. And every time I go out, I notice how many electric cars there are. And I anticipate that there is going to be a coming together of the nations to stop this global warming. So, in a sense, Baha'u'llah's revelation came at the perfect time to prepare us for coming together as humanity, step by step, phase by phase. And it's a bit like being pushed because, when people are innocent and ignorant and heaven knows that mankind is that, it does take a bit of a push. So I look at this and I think of the size of our universe and the number of times God must have helped planets like ours and species like ours to grow and become what I think Genesis even started off with, that mankind would be given, the word that they use is dominion, but I think of it as mankind becoming stewards of life on this planet. And that's where I see the revelation taking us. So I think we're in a very, very hopeful time when we see the bigger picture.
Thank you, Ellen, and we certainly do need hope. Just say hello to the Catamians. I haven't seen you folks for years. Nice to see you here. Aloha, Pa. Yeah, you're muted. You are muted.
You seem to be muted, even though your little red button is not there. I don't know.
Oh, gosh.
Still can't hear you, Jamshid. Doesn't matter how loud you speak.
Yeah, the volume, maybe their volume.
When
Is your volume up? Is your volume up?
No, what happens sometimes is their audio has not kicked in.
Okay.
Wish we could understand what you're saying.
This is when you're able to read lips. That's it.
We have a few raised hands since. Anyway, Lawapa. We still have a few raised hands here. So we have Naimi and Janus, are you speaking again? You want to speak again?
Very shortly, yes.
Okay, so go ahead, Mr. Naimi then.
Aloha, friends. That's my first time. I came halfway through. I'm very excited that I was here. I have one question. I loved Alan's comments about positive thinking. I really think that we need that. I was just wondering, all these quotes that we read or you read, when I'm facing a society that is not aware of these things and they are heedless, how am I gonna explain to them Shoghi Effendi's writings? I mean, even us, we have to be very honest. It's not very easy to absorb what he's written to us. But how are we gonna divulge it to the outside community?
Well, anybody, would Gary like to answer that?
Yeah, there were hands before mine, but it was almost like in the question I was going to have. But if someone's hand that was up before mine, please go ahead. But I do have a comment in that arena. Someone's before me.
If I can mention something about that to Mr. Naimi. And Bob, here's my picture. You were saying to put on my videos. Hello. I had the same question some times ago about this paper that Abdul Baha had written, and the secret of divine civilization. I was wondering, why was it so difficult? Why is it so difficult for me to even read so much as to I be able to explain it to other people? And I just went back to myself. It seemed that I needed to read it a lot more. I needed to take the time. I needed to read the lines like one sentence at a time, because there's just, as people say, it's loaded, with this amazing things and very complicated things as well. So even like one sentence when we take out of his writings, that's enough to be able to talk for hours with other friends of ours, people who are not, who are seeking the faith. That's one of the things that I found, and I just don't know what other people have in mind. But I've always found out that it came back to me. I had to read it over and over and just take take them apart. Very, very gradually, I'm able to explain things.
Well, there's Shala and there's Gary.
I want to say we are the luckiest people, luckiest generation. And I deeply believe no pain, no gain. And I think we are watching minute to minute the awakening of humanity. I think is invigorating. And I find it's so organic that watching it is just want you to get off your seat and go and share it with others. So I think we don't realize how lucky we are because everything that the writing said, we are watching it happen in our lifetime. So I feel like that early Christians who were thrown to the lion. And I think this is where we are. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, Shala Jun, thank you so much for that hopeful message, yours and Alan's. I mean, the Guardian, as I said, didn't pull any punches, and perhaps I should have put more hopeful quotations in there, but because they are there, and the Universal House of Justice in one of its recent messages pointed to the necessity for hope, that we have to be bringers of hope to mankind. Now, Mr. Naimi, to answer your question, I think it's very difficult to explain to people what we're doing unless they actually participate in what we're doing. It's so hard to explain this revelation of Baha'u'llah, this priceless gift that we have, this wonderful administrative order, all of these world-saving, world-redeeming teachings that we have. How can you explain this to people in words? The best way is to be friends. Abdul Baha said the best way to teach the faith was, first of all, to be friends with people, to love them. And when you've gained their confidence, then you can teach them. But with many of our friends, we never get to that point sometimes. But with my friends here, I have been able, with a few of them, one of them in particular at the co-op, I've been able to just speak to him as if he were a fellow Baha'i, and he listens. He hasn't joined the faith, but thank heaven he listens. So I don't know. I think it's up to all of us, and we all suffer from this. Your question. And there's a whole universe there waiting to be discovered. And all we can do is invite people to dive into the most great ocean and swim as best they can, and we can help them as much as we possibly can. So Marguerite's got her hand up. Gary is going to be next, and then Marguerite.
So there were a couple things, and actually you just kind of said what I was. So I'll go with the spirit, and then I'd like to address what Shala said. He said, "How do we divulge it?" or something to that effect. So it's in the writings. It's let not your words exceed your deeds. So if all we're doing is talking about what Baha'u'llah has done, but they don't see it, how can they believe it? If it's not reflected in community, if it's not reflected in gatherings, if they don't see it, but you can tell me this, that, and the other about this beautiful cause, but I get here and I don't see it, then what? There was a sermon one time. This minister was speaking to his congregation. He said, "Go out and share the word of Christ. Everybody that crosses your path, tell them about it. Everywhere you go, just tell them about Christ." And every whole congregation is applauding and standing up and yelling and shouting. And then he said, "And when you have to, use your words."
Yes.
Because we have all of these lofty, these beautiful writings we always inject in spaces where we're discomfort, or if there is something challenging, that if there's moments of the old world order that's still very prevalent within the space, When they appear, we want to quickly say, oh, let's turn away from this. This is a source of disunity. This is this. We'll label it so we don't address it and core it out. No, it's not a source of disunity. It's uncomfortable. It may this and that, but we never dive in the waters long enough to get in there. And I'm not pointing fingers. I'm saying my perspective is now, instead of looking, I say in those moments, what is it that I'm to do now? That's in alignment, in accordance with the writings tell me to do. I'm not saying, because I'm not responsible for what the next person does, but I signed a card to do the work. I didn't sign the card to be comfortable. And then when it said a Baha'i, we're quick to say, oh, is he a Baha'i? Is she a Baha'i? Or is this Baha'i? And I say, what is a Baha'i? Well, when I do that, first place I look is the long obligatory prayer. My heart's prone to evil. I'm a sinner. And all these things. So what is it? But when we say Baha'i in some things, that excludes us from from this infection of racism or whatever the ism is that is current and obvious by putting a Band-Aid Baha'i on it. So again, it's work. Last thing, Shala, you said something about we're lucky. And I go right to selections. And where Abdul Baha says, from amongst all of mankind, he hath chosen you. And your eyes have been opened to the light of guidance, and your ears attuned to the music of the company above. And blessed by abounding grace, your hearts and souls have been born into new life. Thank ye and praise ye God, that the hand of infinite bestowals has set upon your heads this gem-studded crown, this crown whose lustrous jewels will forever flash and sparkle down all the reaches of time. To thank him for this, make ye a mighty effort and choose for yourselves a noble goal. Through the power of faith, obey ye the teachings of God, and let all of your actions conform to his laws. So that's the piece. We're not lucky, we're chosen to do this work, to labor. What's the candle that's burning in our chest when we talk about the dawn breakers and the sacrifices? What is the sacrifice with us? Let me say,
Thank you, Gary. I really, really appreciate it. Much love, Gary. It's 10 to 9. We won't have any prayers except you. Gary, where did you go?
I paused.
Come back.
Well, the Catamians, they couldn't get their audio.
I wonder if, is
Oh,
that
it's
okay, Jack,
working.
now?
Gary, come back.
Yes.
I have lost control of everything, but Gary, come back. I want to see your face. Gary, come back. Thank you. Okay. Gary, you know that at 8:30 we would start devotion. It is 5 to 9, but since Jack is a great friend of mine,
Yes.
I sat still like a good girl to make sure that I'm not disrespectful to him. You'll stay. No, listen to me. Listen to me. Thank you. You please stay there. We want to say a few prayers and you have to be there. Do you understand that?
Can I say one thing though? But this is the thing about spaces
But
sometimes.
don't go for 45 minutes because
2 seconds. 2
50
seconds.
people are waiting.
I
Okay.
understand. 2 seconds. I understand, but sometimes spirit takes us out of regiment. And if the conversation takes on that, but we're so locked into this regiment sometimes, and people are there, you've touched something in its action. So I'll pause right there. So that being so obligated to time and clock sometimes, this allows us to expand and grow as well. So
Thank you, Gary. Farouz, can I make one request?
Please go ahead.
That we take the last hands that are up, let them speak, and then close with the prayers. How would that be? I'd love to hear from Mawad and
Of course. We have 5, 6 people. Please go ahead. Please. Said Khan, do you have more questions, Said Khan?
No, actually, no, I don't have much questions. My hand is left raised just for a small comment I wanted to make. I hear everyone, and we are all in the same boat. Nobody is higher or lower or more excited. But I think that one word I want to use is wisdom. I think that whatever we do, we are bound to use wisdom, no matter what. That's my.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Margaret, please go ahead.
It's an answer to Said's question or comment about words or language in the writings. I watched my children learn to recite prayers when they were little. And these prayers had big words. I mean, the first time I heard my 4-year-old daughter use the word miséricorde in French, which is a very long word for mercy, I smiled, and it actually gave them all a wonderful introduction to language. And the only creative word is the word of the manifestation of God. Bob in Baha'u'llah, and Baha'u'llah says that in the creative word, every word has 71 meanings. So sometimes a person hears about the faith first, reads the writings of Baha'u'llah, and they find it quite difficult. And then generally a friend who's teaching them will introduce them to the talks and the writings of Abdul Baha, which is closer to, if you want, common language. And then Shoghi Effendi finally writes in a very supreme mastery of language and the English language. And I learned through 13 years of studying literature, both in French and in English, that the more you read, the more you understand. So it goes for the creative word, for the talks of Abdul Baha, the writings of Abdul Baha. It goes for the writings of Shoghi Effendi. I remember, I don't know the quotation or the story exactly, but I remember someone suggesting or asking Shoghi Effendi why he wrote in such a scholarly manner, very high language, and couldn't he make it more simple for everybody to understand? And his question was, no, people should increase their use of language to meet the language in the writings instead of the reverse. So the more you read, the more you will understand. Even reading the same thing. I've been a Baha'i 50 years. I read the same things I read 50 years ago, and I can understand something completely different every time. Something new, something more profound, etc. But I want to end that with a quotation from Shoghi Effendi that I can't quote because I don't have it before my eyes and I have never memorized it. It's from Baha'i administration. In a letter he writes about the success or victory in teaching. And he says that, that quotation where he says it's not through, success doesn't come through big
force of numbers, right?
Yes, etc. It talks about it's the degree when we teach, it's the degree to which we exemplify or apply the teachings in our lives. That drives success. So it's both how you behave, how you treat others, how much love and kindness you show to others, and continued reading, daily reading of the creative word and, the writings of the authoritative figures in the faith. The more you read, the more you will understand. I can attest to that. After I read when I had to write a paper on Hamlet, for instance, which is very weird language, I had to read the book 3 times before I could write an essay on this play. So that's not even from God. That's just a writer. So the more you read, the more you'll understand. And I saw that in my children. The more they repeated the prayers, and when they started being able to read, the more they read them, the greater their use of language became.
Okay.
Thank you. So, thank you very much, Margaret.
Thank you, Margaret.
You're welcome.
Dr. Khatamian, please go ahead. Welcome.
Yeah.
This is the first time I see you here.
Well, I hope you can hear us now.
Very well.
Yes.
Yeah, we had to go to another equipment anyhow, my other computer. First of all, First Harm, thanks very much. Last week, I know you called my name. However, by the time I came to respond, we were disconnected. So I apologize for that,
No
definitely.
problem. No
And
problem
yeah,
whatsoever.
and thanks very much, Jack, for wonderful talk. The only thing I could see here, I don't want to add or take your time. These letters by the Guardian, which basically comes to be the World Order of Baha'u'llah, was about 100 years ago that's written. After 100 years, we see that, really the things haven't changed much, even getting. So we have to be patient. That's the only comment I can have. The only way, and also if there are any shortcomings, is from the Baha'is, really. We have to work harder, maybe, to facilitate more the new coming of the new age.
Very good. As Abdul Baha said, Sabra kun mesle men bash.
Firuzjan, can I say
Please
just
go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just read this and it was it's not about world order or about Shoghi Effendi, but it's about one of the Baha'is in Iran that she was in prison. And up to then, since this revolution, when they put Baha'is in jail, they asked them so many questions and all that. Then they realized that all these question and answer they give softens a lot of people that they are interrogating them, that they say, these are nice people, they talk about good things. So they decided from now on, no more explanation. Just tell them, say yes or no to the questions, no more. So they started doing this. So somebody was interrogating this lady and said, are you Baha'i? And she said, no. He said, what do you mean, no? You're here for that. He says, well, you said just say yes or no, so I cannot explain. He says, okay, explain about this. That's okay, this time. She said, because I don't think I am a Baha'i, a good Baha'i yet. If I was doing my job and listening to what Baha'u'llah has said and doing it the right thing, you've been in Baha'i by now. You have been a Baha'i by now. You would have been a Baha'i by now. That was her answer to this guy, the interrogator, that because I didn't do my job properly. I haven't been like, good Baha'i. Like Margaret says that we have to, all the comment you gave, I agree. Thank you, Furja.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you, Jamshid. Good to see you after all these years.
Very nice seeing you too. Very good. You still look good and young.
I don't know about that. I don't feel young. On
energetic.
certain days, I'll be 81 in June. Anyway, thank you, friends, for your patience. Thank you to dear Firuz for allowing us to break the time barrier and letting Gary would be pleased we let the spirit flow.
Thank you, Jack, for accepting to be here. Friends, is there any more questions? Sarah, you wanted to ask a question. You raised your hand. Did I cut you off?
I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the prayers.
Peruz, I just want to thank Bob LeBlanc, who's been so patient with a non-electronically educated person like me. Bob spent a long time with me working out the kinks of this and that, and he's such a fine, patient man. So thank you, Bob.
Bob is the continued support of this space. He has been here for the longest time, always, always helpful. I don't know how to thank Bob. Bob, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
He's a wonderful soul who really serves people, and I can tell you he's helped me and more than once, and I'm very grateful for it.
Thank you. Mr. Lord Knoll or Cole, I've never met you, and I hope you enjoyed tonight. In any ways, if you want, you can leave your email address and I will be glad to send you the invitation. But thank you so much for coming to this space. This is a space which belongs to everyone from every walks of life, every idea, every intention. So you're more than welcome to come back. But anyway, thanks for being here.
That's my old friend Mehdi Wolf.
Oh, you never told me that.
I don't know why he's got Lord Cole there, but anyway, he's a Baha'i scholar and he's been a Baha'i for a long, long time.
He is so quiet, he didn't come across as a Baha'i. Baha'is are less quiet than this, but maybe because he's a scholar. That's fine. That's fine. Okay. Friends, or Jack, am I permitted to ask someone to say a prayer?
Certainly. Why are you asking me? I can.
Because I want to make sure you're happy. You wanted everyone to ask their questions.
I'm 100% happy and satisfied with everything.
Perfect. Perfect. I've never seen that in anyone before, but thank you so much.
I can say a prayer of Baha'u'llah that my mother, Joyce McLean, put to music. Do you want me to say that one? No, you'll sing it.
Yes, and Jack, can you, in a very short period of time, can you tell us how your mother became a Baha'i? Quickly, please, if possible.
Through Auntie Ruthie, her sister, who was taught by Ali Quli Khan in Washington, D.C. So that was a great privilege for our family.
Wow. Thank you.
It was taught by Ali Quli Khan.
Thank you.
Taught Heather's mother, who was my mother's youngest sister. Heather Kadan was her mom. Edna was my mother's youngest sister. Okay. I am the son of wisdom and the ocean of knowledge. I cheer the faint and revive the dead. I am the guiding light that illumineth the way. I am the royal falcon on the arm of the Almighty. I unfold the drooping wings of every broken bird and started on its flight. I unfold the drooping wings of every broken bird and started on its flight. Aloha.
Jack, I have been in this country for a very long time. This is the first time I heard a prayer being chanted in English so beautifully. I'm grateful to you. Thank you so much.
Hey, John, خیلی خوش آمدید.
Azizam, please go ahead. Gibby, go ahead. You were supposed to say a French prayer. I can see that you're smiling. Friends, feel
sorry.
free. Yeah.
I found a new one. It's on Unity.
Fantastic. That's what we need. Please.
I never read it before, so pardon if it's not too... Well, anyway, here goes. Okay. O toi, Seigneur de bonté, this is hard to say, tu as créé toute l'humanité d'une seule et même souche. Tu as décrété que tous les hommes seraient de la même famille. En ta sainte présence, ils sont... Excuse me, I can't see here. Sorry, Feroz.
So do you want to read the first one that you always read, Gibby?
Okay, that might be easier.
That would be easier. Sure. That would be perfect, Gibby. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
So I memorize this one. Sorry. Ô Dieu, rafraîchis et réjouis mon esprit. Purifie mon cœur. Éclaire mes facultés. Je remets toutes mes affaires entre tes mains. Tu es mon guide et mon refuge. Je ne veux plus m'abandonner à la tristesse ni au chagrin. Je veux rayonner de joie et de bonheur. Ô Dieu, je ne veux plus me laisser envahir par l'anxiété, ni accabler par le tourment. Je ne veux plus m'appesantir sur les ennuis de la vie. Ô Dieu, tu es plus proche de moi que je ne le suis moi-même. Je me consacre à toi, ô Seigneur. Merci.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for such a beautiful, you set the tone so lovingly for all of these talks, really.
Dearest Jack, we have Sarah who wants to say a prayer.
I'd like to say the prayer that beautiful lady said for humanity in English. It's the same one that Gibby wanted to recite. Ô toi, Seigneur de bonté, tu as créé toute l'humanité d'une seule et même souche. Tu as décrété que tous les hommes seraient de la même famille. En ta sainte présence, ils sont tous tes serviteurs, et toute l'humanité s'abrite sous ton tabernacle. Ils sont tous réunis autour de la table de ta générosité, illuminés de la lumière de ta providence. Ô Dieu, tu es bon envers tous. Tu subviens aux besoins de chacun. Tu les protèges tous, tu leur confères la vie. Tu les as tous dotés de facultés et de talents. Ils sont plongés dans l'océan de ta miséricorde. Ô toi, Seigneur de bonté, unis-les tous, fais que les religions s'accordent et que les nations s'unifient, afin qu'ils se voient comme une seule famille et regardent la terre comme un seul foyer. Puissent-ils tous vivre ensemble en parfaite harmonie. Ô Dieu, lève l'étendard de l'unité du genre humain. Ô Dieu, établis la très grande paix. Ô Dieu, cimente les cœurs. Ô toi, Père bienfaisant, Dieu, réjouis nos cœurs du parfum de ton amour. Éclaire nos yeux de ta lumière, de la lumière de ta providence. Enchante nos oreilles de la mélodie de ta parole et abrite-nous dans la forteresse de ta sollicitude. Tu es le fort, le puissant, tu es le clément, l'indulgent qui pardonne les faiblesses des hommes.
Merci, Sarah.
Thank you,
Tu m'as sauvé la
Farouz.
vie ici, là.
Thank you, everyone, for participating tonight.
Merci beaucoup à tout le monde.
Vous avez toutes les deux de très belles voix, Sarah et Gibby.
Merci, Marguerite. Toi aussi.
Merci beaucoup.
Hello, everyone. It sounds better in French than it does in English. Beautiful.
Thank you, everyone. That's probably
you.
why Shoghi Effendi learned French.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
His
Thank you,
beautiful
friends, for
wife
coming.
spoke it
Thank you.
fluently.
Share the love. Share the love. That's all that matters. Bye.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you all. Thank you. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you, Faye. Love you, love you, love you, Faye.
Thank you. Thank you for the wonderful program.
It was wonderful to have you here, Faye. Love you.
Thank you. Love you all.
Thank you, Farouz. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Merci.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob. I appreciate it, Bob. You did so much. Thank you
it's
so
nothing.
much.
Thank you. Thank you, Farouz. Thank you. Nice to see you all.
It was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night, Faye. Love you.
Good night. Love you all.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Gibby, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. I've had few terrible weeks, including different things, including losing all my stuff in my computer. My computer collapsed. So I've been going through very rough weeks for the past 3 weeks.
I mean, you have had exciting times.
We'll pray for you, Feroz. Sorry I messed up this evening.
Exciting times.
I love you, Gibby. Gibby, I love you. Keep me in your prayers, Gibby. When you say a prayer for me in English, God will listen more.
In English?
Yeah, he told
okay.
me.
Oh, great.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay. Love you all.
Love to you.
Love you too.
Love you
Bye.
guys.
This
Bye.
Mrs. Wachman. Mrs. Wachman,
Yes.
are you related to Eniyat and her family, his family?
فریدون بهمن، منوچهر بهمن.
No, Enayat. He's saying آقای بهمنی نه Enayat.
Eniyat Wachman,
Yes,
Jamshid Jahangir.
Enayat is a cousin of my husband.
They were good friends of ours.
You know that Mr. Enayat Rahman has passed on with his wife.
Yes, yes, I know.
Great that you remembered him. That's wonderful.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night, everyone. Much love.
Good night.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Give my love to Louis. Bye.
Bye-bye. I will. Bye.